Look at the panorama. Are you sitting with us?
Yes.
There was a time I was in the car with Dad, and it was middle school, so obviously it was a terrible time when we were all. And I'm sitting there quiet, something's going on with my friends, and he's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Nothing." And I was like, "Bad." So I was like, "Okay." Maybe I just don't know. A lot of talking. Sweet, but also so shrinky. So shrinky. Just so shrinky.
One row away from these streets. I know you very well.
I told him about TJ Maxx. I was like, TJ Maxx is the home goods every strip mall, and everyone's there all the time. So I was like, whatever they're doing, go with that. There's your other, he yells at me about home goods all the time.
Alta Salon's been a big stop.
TJ Maxx gets all the retailers,
It's a great
it's better than
Even worse than a litigator. That was
That's a nice thing. Yeah,
sense of what kind of men we might be recruiting to try to like football. The acting was so bad.
Thank you.
Turn the music off. Who controls the music?
You do. Adam's going to sing.
I'm sorry to interrupt your dinners, but I was asked to start the evening and welcome everybody. So thank you all for coming to my dad's 75th birthday. There's a lot of people here who I've known a very long time, but probably have not seen since his last birthday, a decade ago. I was asked to do something this evening. I own a magic store, and at one point in my life was more of a performer than I am today. But it was requested that I perform something this evening, and by requested I mean it was really told that if I didn't get up here, he would get up here instead and tell everyone how ungracious his son was, and that I refused to do something. Since my dad, though, is much more of the performer in the family, as a well-regarded actor, I thought that I'd include him and ask him to come up and join me, excuse me. Dad, please come up here. Since the request, though, was for Matt to teach him his very first magic trick this evening, he had no idea. We haven't rehearsed, so I brought you cue cards.
Okay.
You're going to do the trick, so you will read from the cue cards. It's like you're on TV.
Hello, everybody.
Out towards the audience, project.
Hello, everybody. Hello, George. Thank you for coming to my birthday party.
He's a natural.
I am the great stage name?
No, you fill in the blank.
What?
You fill in the blank.
Blank what?
You need to create a stage name.
George the Great.
No, I want to be a gangster.
We're going to slide over slightly because I keep hitting my head.
Alfonso.
I am the great.
I am the great George Alfonso. I am the best magician in the world.
Might be a little bit of an overstatement. This is your first magic
Yes,
trick.
I understand.
We'll go with this one.
I am the best actor in the world? Oh, Michael, please. I was in Wall Street 2.
Oh, sorry.
What about Wall Street 1?
Wall Street 1. And Wall Street 2. Yeah.
And Wall Street 2.
Oh.
Death to Smoochie.
Anyone ever heard of that one? No. Okay.
Wait a second. I got my start in The Flamingo Kid.
He's ad-libbing now.
Very, very important role. Why? Because I got my SAG card due to Michael Phillips' graciousness. I was this close to winning an Oscar. But Michael beat me out.
Again, ad-libbing. This is when he was supposed to show us how close, but I think you were...
Okay, this far.
There we go. Okay.
Realistically, this far. Okay. I'm about to show you something very impressive. For this, I will need a volunteer.
How did I know?
Wait, we're...
I bounced
We'll get
her
there.
on my knee. Wait a second. What's going on?
You're supposed to say do not rush at once.
Oh, do
Clearly,
not all rush at
Lauren was
once.
volunteering.
So let me choose someone. Come on, Lauren.
Lauren, stay right there. You can help us out from your seat.
Oh. What is your name?
Lauren,
Lauren what?
Star.
Thank you. I knew that.
Not very impressive in this room. He's just warming up.
What do you do?
I sell real estate.
Louder.
I sell real estate!
If anybody needs a broker, use this young woman. Bonnie Chachet is old and rich. I knew that too. Please think of any playing card.
Okay.
Peter.
Me? No, it's me.
Oh, Lauren, you.
It's me.
Okay. For the first time, name your card.
You want me to say it out loud?
Please.
Jack of Hearts.
Jack of Hearts. Amazing.
Amen.
I knew you would name that card. Now it's getting.
No one seems very impressed.
You don't believe me?
No.
No.
Allow me to prove it. Whoa.
What? Oh, sorry. Yes. Allow me to prove it.
Early on today, I had this funny feeling in my back.
He's 75. He's allowed to have a funny feeling in his back.
About one special card. And I placed it inside an envelope. I certainly did. This one.
No way. No way.
Please go ahead.
No way.
Jack of Hearts! Thank you, Adam. But let me say one thing. I've been asking for 20 years to do magic tricks for me. It took all of you coming here and me telling him I was going to disinherit him and give all the money to Jenny.
Thank you for joining us. Wait, you have one more card?
One more card. One more card. Now that deserves an Oscar.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you very much. And congratulations to my dad on his birthday. He's supported me all these years doing things like this. And thank you to Jimmy Ratner, whose birthday it also is. No, excuse me, Jimmy. Dennis Kaufman, whose birthday it also is tonight. I had to have just the right amount of wine to get up here, but not too much. Dennis, over the years, drove me to circus camp every summer, as my dad would ship me out that way and tell me it was Dennis's problem to get me to camp. So happy birthday to both Dennis and my dad. And thank you very much. And Bevan as well. Enjoy your evening.
Don't settle that yet.
At George's last big birthday, prior administration in his life asked me not to get up and speak. Which, are you all slow or what? I mean, so that was like 20 years ago, and so I've been saving up. Many of you here know George much, much longer, or longer, I will say, than I do, but none of you here have spent as much time with George as I have, not even remotely close. And I want to tell you that this is the most first-class guy, a true Renaissance man, you know, one of the kindest people I've ever met in my life, a wonderful friend to me and to all of the Cohen family, and we really view him as family. And I just want him to be around for a long, long time so we can continue to have fun and do stuff together. I love the guy, and happy birthday, George.
I am George's bartender. I've known George for 6 years. 6 years. Too long. And George came to the bar and he said, I don't talk to people at the bar. And I said, okay, don't talk to people at the bar. And then that was the last time he ever said that, because he talks to everybody at the bar now. 2, I know things about George that you'll never know about. 3, I will never tell you. Right, George? So my love for George is pure. It is not anything gets in the way. I know him. I love him. He is with me, and I cherish my relationship with George. Thank you.
My name is Jim Ratner, and what's important for me tonight is not my name. It's the name of my oldest, dearest, and most valued friend, George Blumenthal. I have a real privilege tonight because other than Debbie, I've known George longer than anybody in this room. We go back to the very beginnings in our lives. And I've had the opportunity to witness what the definition of friendship really is with George. You go through life and you meet many people, many of whom you think of as friends, many of whom are good friends. But there is no friend in my life, and I suspect that is a unifying theme in this room tonight, like George. There is nothing he will not do for his friends. There's no extent to which he will not go. And there's no amount of caring that is too much for him. If he knows you're in trouble, you get called all the time. If he thinks you're okay, it's less often. But he is always there. He is always there, no matter what the situation is. And in the times in my life when I have had difficulty, and there have been any number, the only person that I could go to who was not related to me by blood was George. And I knew that I would get not only advice, but I would get the kind of love that only your family gives you. When you get to this age, and George and I are separated by about 1.5 years, and I only know that because I remember when George was 16, he was the first of my car. He had a Buick. He had a white Buick that was his father's car that he drove. And I remember he's the first guy that I knew that I kind of thought that was really big stuff in those days. But he is somebody who will, I know, be that kind of friend the rest of my life. I don't know what any of our futures are, but I rest with great assurance and great comfort in knowing that whatever happens, I will always have George as my best, trusted, and oldest friend.
Follow that. And I'm maybe the next oldest friend. Met George when I transferred high school in 11th grade or something like that. And we've remained friends ever since. We spent a very tough freshman year in college as roommates. George was a little messy. But he grew up. And now he plans things with the help of Phyllis and Cindy. Without him, where would they be? George, we love you. Thank you for everything you've done for us and everybody here, and especially your children. Adam, who I took to camp, and look what he's become. And Jenny, where'd she go? who's become a lovely young woman and hopefully an entrepreneur. George, it's all on you and Phyllis and Cindy.
Okay, I was never married, but I slept. No, I didn't sleep with him, but I slept below him. Okay, I slept below him, and my husband George slept above me. But I think many of you who were at George's, George was your 55th? 55th, I wrote a poem that I think he keeps on his desk because it was very meaningful to him. Why he didn't marry me, I still am not sure. But anyway, I love George Blumenthal.
We tried to fix them up.
I love George Blumenthal. He was my high school boyfriend's roommate in college, Rick? Yes? Was he a roommate?
Too complicated.
No. I met him at Dartmouth. And I think that he is an unusual man. He's kind, he's sweet, he has a commitment to Judaism. I know Jenny well, and I adore her. I think he's done a fabulous job. He comes to me every year for breakfast because he likes my cheesecake. We lived in the same building at 1035th with Andy Tannenbaum, whom I adore.
Thank you.
Okay. And I want to say that I think every one of us in this room, we're very fortunate to be a friend of George Blumenthal because he has the soul that is just an incredible soul, and he's giving and he's kind, and we all have been touched by him in different ways. His commitment to Israel and to Judaism and to the history of Israel has been incredible. I met with him on various projects. I tried to do a project together with him. I'm sorry we never did because I learned so much in my meetings with him. And I just thought about something. Is Phyllis here tonight? Where's Phyllis?
Oh, yeah, she's here.
Is Phyllis? Where's Phyllis? Yay, okay. This woman is incredible, and we should all raise our glasses to her because her loyalty and kindness to George Blumenthal is amazing. And I want to ask you to all raise your glasses and give a toast to George because he's the most special man in this room tonight. And George, we all love you enormously.
You got it, Dad.
So I'm not going to say much. We were supposed to share the mic. The woman stepped on me all night. I don't know what the hell to say. But what I will say something special about George. I met George when Rick called me up and said, we got to get him into 1030 Fifth Avenue. And that's when I met George for the first time, when he moved into 1030 Fifth Avenue. But what he's really done for me is he's been a mentor to my children. He's the most interested of all of our friends in the growth and the development of our children. And he's very special about that. And he has his own opinion, but my children have learned to respect that opinion and listen to it. And I think that really makes him different than all my friends because he truly has an interest in my entire family. And the Jewish identity that he has developed, I got to turn to my wife because the two of them talk this stuff. They never stop. They're gonna straighten out the world. But George, the truth of the matter is, you're very special to me, Dorothy, and my children. Thank you for our friendship.
I guess my seniority is number 3 after Jimmy and Dennis. But in the fall of 1962, this kind of funny-looking kid, I was a sophomore at Dartmouth, and this freshman moved in with kinky hair, a frog-like voice, and the brightest blue eyes. And he was totally clueless, well-intentioned, but hopelessly square, and not that cool, but there was something about him that I loved. Right at the beginning, he made me smile. I could see how genuine he was, how eager, and I sensed the wonderful qualities that were there. And we have, I'm so grateful for your friendship. And your friendship, many people have remarked on the way you're a friend. I have friends, too, who have a problem. I call up, I get advice, I get, support. George springs into action immediately. He either gets on the phone or, whenever I had a dream or a problem, you've been there for me in a big, big way and unique. We all know his incredible visionary mind. his perspective and his ability to articulate it. It's kind of awesome to. I don't know anybody who has your perspective, and I've loved that. So through the ups and downs, he is now. I'm really happy for you that you fashioned the life you have in the apartment, although it's a little insular, but you have become. Well, I'm going to make him blush a little bit, but he's a player. He's come into fashion. The qualities of being a gentleman and being a good guy, which were kind of useless when you're 18, at 75, women love it. And also, you don't even know what you're doing with tennis. See, he is zen. George is playing tennis. He doesn't play with people. He just wants to perfect his stroke. But he doesn't understand what you're doing is your spiritual development, is what you're doing. Anyway, you are the best. I love you. All right.
I met George through a very interesting circumstance. His parents. I was a new person here in New York City. I studied in California. Before that, I spent 25 and a half years to the day in Israel. And all of a sudden, I'm joining a firm. Don't know if you heard about it, Hardy and Company. I think that Peter's firm, Cohen, absorbed it years after. So, and all of a sudden I see over there a couple, and one of them spoke with Hungarian accent, and another one in a very heavy German, but every word was a pearl. Incredible. I could not understand, what are they doing here? Well, whatever I learned in school, I think that was probably 2% as much as I learned from this couple. So, they tell me that they have a son. He's going to Dartmouth. And I think that they wanted to send him to Columbia. So I said, listen, very simple. I have a few dissertations that I wrote. Perhaps I can give it to him so he will not have headaches. George did everything perfect. So, unfortunately, his father left us very early, but he gave me advice. He approved my wife. And his mother blessed it too, so they used to meet a lot, give advice and so forth. And I continued with George. He introduced me to Peter, where I worked for quite a few years, and later we had our own business, and we started to have like partnerships, but we never had proper signatures on them. It was very fluid, because who has to worry about things? And then, as business progressed, we aged. Unfortunately, I started to fall down a little bit. I was attacked by cancer. George had all the advice. He knew the doctors, he knew the systems, and so forth. And today he's applying it in his business. In fact, I think I'm being documented over there. Every morning, I hear from him. Always has some questions, puts me on the spot, and God forbid that I don't know the answer. I have to go and study it and then communicate to him. And the same thing happens, I would say, over and over. And it's exciting, it's inspirational, and it's not just business or other things. It's about archaeology. I mean, because of him, I have boxes of archaeological things, which Dale wants to throw away, but she doesn't understand the value of that. and also in stamps. We had lots of fun in that. So it's an inspirational, and it's something that makes you feel that you want to do every day. It gives really a power. So how can we not love George, who also adopted the children? So can you imagine how many children he has? He has Lauren, he has Andrew, he has, I think, Gabrielle and Matthew. By the way, George was an expert in communication, so he helped my son to start a company in Taiwan. Can you imagine that? From so far away. And, just unbelievable thing. We wanted to stay young as long as you can, George.
So, I'm not so little anymore, but I'm still his little sister. I was planning to do a PowerPoint presentation with IMDb clips and all the YouTube things you can imagine, and somebody forbade me to do that. So I decided to make a little montage of George. Because while you know him a long time, I know things about him that nobody knows. But I think you should know that he probably should have been in pictures at this point in time. Sorry, 1 second. This is George. Okay. Now, the first time he got to know about me was when my mom was pregnant with me, and I'm told that he considered me an issue as part of dilution of his equity. Yes, he overcame that, and when our father died, he moved back home. And this is how George likes to entertain. We used to have graffiti parties, kaftans from the Middle East, reel-to-reel Ocean's 11, and cotton candy, and all sorts of amazing opportunities for my friends and I. And fast forward, when he decided I was going to college, I applied to college, he took me to Wellesley. And after that, he basically has always been a part of my life. He clearly is a famous movie star. I've heard all about that. But what is most interesting to me about George is how you really never know where he is. You know that he is. But you know if you ever need him, you can find him. So GB, happy birthday.
Thank you.
George, speech. They have so many old friends, George. I mean, it's an intimate gathering, and yet everybody here seems to know you for a minimum of 20 or 30 years. I'm thinking about the time in Israel in the 1970s when Michael Phillips and I in our business were in Israel and get to meet you for the first time. And I'm at the Dead Sea, and it was the 70s, and I was taking chocolate mescaline and with a girl slightly of age, a young lady, and you didn't blink. Obviously, you were an astute businessman, and yet I was very impressed by your ability to accept whatever was in your hands. And as the years we got to know each other, and I find out you know people like Rick Reese, who I've known 60 years, Peter Cohen, who I knew all these years, 6 degrees of separation, that there was a reason why so many people, you know, were attracted to you. And a lot of it has to do, George, with you have an incredible curiosity. I'm fascinated by your ability to obviously deal with business, to grow, how close you were to your mom and everything else in the stockbroking company when you first started, and to see how you extended yourself into this future. And I think a lot of people have mentioned this tonight, how you've affected another generation. In my situation, with my children in an interfaith family, who you've supported so much and given so much direction to my son Dylan in your archaeology things and realizing that these are things that will help him understand. And your digitalization world is really, really impressive. And where most of us are kind of locked into our own format, you continue to grow. You continue to grow. I think that's the part that I'm most impressed with you, George. A couple of other things I can't talk about tonight that I think you're very impressive. But, happy birthday, and it must be wonderful to have so many old friends that love you so much. Happy birthday, George.
I have but a few words to say. I am a really blessed individual. I had absolutely great parents, and I am nothing but an extension of my parents. I have met wonderful people in my life, all of whom are smarter than I am, except Dennis, who shares the birthday with me. Though he went to Dartmouth, but one would hardly know it. And I was thinking about tonight, earlier in the day, and what struck me was the children of my friends. As I look around the room, I see all these wonderful kids. They're not kids anymore, some in their 40s. They're not doing drugs. They're living a good... I sort of believe they're not doing drugs. They're fully engaged with life. Many of them are parents. And I say, wow, this is really amazing friends. They're parents who I have. And I've just been blessed. And I want to say thank you all for coming tonight. And we'll have the dessert out soon, and we'll be out by 10. You don't often get a threesome for a birthday. That's right. Patty Dennis' daughter. Happy birthday, Dennis, George, and Bevan. Can you believe it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Get some mic.
I can't sit.
Where's George?
George left the room.
No, I'm watching you.
Do you have a phone?
Yeah.
Yes, I
That's
do.
more accurate.
I need a light.
Let me get it right now.
Elvis has left the room.
I have a poem for George. I love George like everyone else. What's that?
There we go.
Thank you. Dear George, a philanthropist, father, and movie star, you have come so very far. You have lived so many lives. You have had so many wives. You're looking for perfection. We know that is true. A typical, wonderful American Jew. You strive for the best in yourself and in others, and if you had your way and your druthers, we'd all be digitizing our every move, and the future, it would truly behoove, because I agree that to let things go by is eventually to allow them to die. And you have spent these past many years not just going to parties and drinking beers, but digitizing important exhibits and work. There's hardly a moment when you are able to lurk. But I do think you've reached a very good balance, because you do make time and allowance for your tennis game and to have some fun inside in winter and summer in sun.
You're a great friend to so many here, and you know we all hold you so know. Need our compassion and caring and such. They need to feel our loving touch. And in the midst of your 75th celebration, when you could just be basking in your elation, you think of others, which is so important to do. Dear George S. Blumenthal, we love you.
Thank you. Here, give me a lip kiss. I've been trying for 30 years to kiss this woman on the lip. I finally got it.
Dear George, and I made a gift, of course, to the Holocaust.
So I'm the youngest of all the children, because George has raised a lot of kids. Just thinking about that. There's a lot of siblings in here. We're all spread across age groups, but I don't really think I got to know my dad until I went to college. I think that seems to be like the point where him and I started to connect on a level of understanding. All prior to that, there's a lot of misunderstandings. George has a lot of stories he likes to tell that he thinks are really funny. I don't think they're that funny. One of them involves a bottle of vodka that he found in my room in high school that he'll happily tell all of you, but it's really not that funny. But something that I have learned from my dad post-college is, one, he always wanted brothers. No, this is true. He always wanted to have a brother. Sorry, Deb. He always wanted to have brothers, and you have all fulfilled that, and you're all his brothers, and you've all entered at different stages of his lives and have made it very rich and rewarding. And whenever I call him, which I call him a lot, I probably talk to him more than anybody else in my life. I talk to him multiple times a day, all day long. And then he's like, I talk to Jimmy, I talk to Michael, I talk to Debbie, I talk to Rafie, I talk to everybody. And he talks about what they talk about and how much he loves all of you. And I'm so happy that you were able to join us here tonight on the 75th birthday. And I can't wait for the next round and for us to come back and celebrate another one. 85? Are you gonna... This was Adam. Adam just whispered 85 right here, okay?
Maybe yearly is
Yearly would be good. I think it would be good for him. But the one thing I'll say is I feel very lucky to have George as my dad. I call him George. I think Adam started this trend, by the way. He called my mom Becky, and he must have called you George. And since I'm the younger one, I followed in suit. But my dad has always, he never put pressure on Adam and I to be anything other than who we are. And he allows us to fail all the time or succeed and do whatever we want every day. And I think that my favorite memories of him that I'll always think about and how I explain him to my friends is that my dad's a character. And I think that articulates or describes or creates the picture of who he is. He's worn many hats throughout life, but he has enjoyed all of them. And he's a little bit of a prankster. Like, he likes to joke and he likes to paint this picture of who he is. And I think that he's lived a very exciting life. I mean, I don't think most people I know haven't had lives like you, and we're all very lucky to know you.
Yes. I never get kisses from this kid. It's over. Michael. 9:59. They could be 10.